I asked the internet what assist blade accessories I should print out for my Beyblades, and you gave me some really bad ideas that I have executed without question. Who's to say? Maybe it's a great idea to give a Beyblade a gun. Maybe a Beyblade with a gun is a meta-defining new feature. Maybe that's what'll save America. Hi, I'm Jett Kuso, and when Beyblade X tops were just 3 pieces, it was a little tricky to add funny gimmicks on top, because the top part of the top has to be metal, and the middle part has to have mechanisms inside, and the bottom part... I did actually print a lot of fun stuff for the bottom part. In the time since I made that video, they've released the CX line, which splits the top part of the top into 3 parts. The bottom part of which is the assist blade. Just a perfect little hunk of solid plastic, meaning I can 3D print an assist blade in literally any shape I want. More specifically, any shape you want. So what do you want? I got my YouTube channel pulled up right here. Let's see what you want me to make. Clowns. No. Truck nuts. Never breathe again. 2 or 3 flails. Your mind scares me, but I like it, and I'm gonna do it, but only once I've gotten my feet wet with some other simpler ideas. Comically tall. Let's start there. That seems easy enough for my meager skills. If I told you my method for designing these parts, you would never respect me again. And since I don't care if you respect me, here's the process. I took 2 assist blades, designed by Gozagu, a Beyblade fan, and stacked them on top of each other in Tinkercad, with just a long tube in the middle. I am not a 3D modeler, nor am I an engineer, so all I can really do is stick existing parts together like they're zonite devices and print that. This is not an advanced strategy, but thankfully everything I use is in the Bamboo Labs ecosystem, so it's surprisingly possible for me to amateurly stumble through it and still get working prototypes at the end. Since the official assist blades are often made with a translucent colored plastic, I got a really nice translucent red PLA filament from Bamboo. The H2S printer is perhaps a little bit overkill for Beyblade parts, given the absolutely massive bed size and the utterly tiny parts. Yet, the enclosed printing chamber will come in handy later on when I need to use materials that aren't PLA. Though PLA is not a super strong material, for a huge solid piece like this, it'll work just fine. It'll work great! It might have a high center of gravity, but it's perfectly symmetrical, and thus perfectly balanced as all things should be. A 6-foot alpha male Chad of a Beyblade, ready to- oh no. Oh god, oh that- oh. Have you ever seen a video of a newborn horse getting up and wobbling around on its fresh, spindly horse legs? Or that one clip of a guy slipping on ice for like 30 full seconds without falling? In battle, it's like the enemy is constantly trying to sweep its legs out from under it, and it just keeps getting back up. How's the weather up there? You should play basketball. Please, not the locker, not again. There's nothing advantageous about the design, not even a theoretical benefit. It can't attack, its ratchet is horribly exposed. A third thing, maybe you could say that by getting the blade up away from the opponent, you won't be taking any big metal-on-metal hits. Maybe that's good for avoiding recoil and absorbing attacks. Or so I thought, exactly 1 second before it got punted disrespectfully across the battlefield and into a pocket. Okay, let's see. Tripio LMFAO. Tripio type beat. A reversible assist blade with Tripio wings. It looks like a few people who came from my Flying Beyblade video would really like me to give that another go. Zepp from the Daft Brothers called it an exercise in futility. But hey, that project was such a success on the flying end that it was hard to get the biblically accurate Tripio model to actually go down into the arena. The only real problem being, it was a terrible Beyblade that couldn't win because it would lose spin too easily. But that's not his fault. One of the most common comments on that video was people saying that the Flying Beyblade could surely seize victory if only it had metal on it. And yeah, could be. I like that attitude. There's a logic to it. A logic, which I couldn't test until now. I think that they think that Since heavier Beyblades with more metal typically spin longer, Flypio with metal will be able to fly and spin long enough to actually win. So I tried it. I made sure to set up the camera with plenty of headroom to capture the action when the Beyblade flies up out of the arena, the only possible result. That doesn't make any sense. If heavier Beyblades spin better, and things spin better, fly better, why doesn't a heavier Beyblade fly better? That doesn't make any sense.
An entire mech suit just to hold the Beyblade.
That's pretty cool. Hard to model.
A slide to enter the arena from the mech.
Getting more complicated, they don't really work.
Little hats for the tops of the Beyblades.
Hats. I like hats. You could do that on top.
And some silly ratchets, like a flower-shaped one. I think it's a ratchet. The part under the blade.
They're kind of all flowers.
One that has a bunch of toothpick-shaped appendages that are designed to come out as leaving road spikes, but for Beyblades.
I probably would have done the hats. Grammy warned you about getting greedy. If you just left it at hats, I would have done it. Grammy warned you!
An assist blade made to annoy people by covering and intercepting the metal hit points, i.e. the parts that stick out of the main blade, with plastic, all.
Putting aside that these are the ideas of people who play blue in Magic the Gathering, and thus should not be trusted, sure, let's do it for science. Since no one Beyblade is gonna have the same exact protrusions, I figured the most annoying possible shape is just round. So I put an assist blade inside a circle and completely hid that blade behind a perfectly smooth wall. This is not unheard of. It's wild as an assist blade, but in the metal series we had Twisted Tempo, a very heavy, very round blade whose gimmick was nothing happens now and I win. I really despise stamina types, because in a game whose win condition is spinning the longest and staying put, the tops that spin the longest and do the least will always wind up at the top of the meta. Even in a game as high action as Beyblade X, boring creep is a constant risk because boring is more reliable and reliable is always gonna win. The more stamina bays they make, the less high action the game will get as the pool gets diluted and diluted and diluted. It's happened to every Beyblade series through time immemorial, which is why I'm glad that Twisted Tempo's spiritual successor was made to be very, very bad. Point is, what I'm doing here is shooting my own values dead in the street. So fittingly, my first attempt was bad. My modeling was so poor that the bottom part just kind of fell off. For take 2, I fixed the model, made it wider, and printed it this time in ABS plastic. If you know, you know, and if you don't, you're in luck. ABS is what they make Lego bricks out of. A lot of really good toys use ABS. It's a good plastic, sir, and I haven't had access to it because it releases terrible gases when it melts. For the best results, it needs an enclosed, high-temperature printing environment. And advanced materials like that are what the H2S is made for, basically becoming its own little oven, so the plastic, noun, stays plastic, adjective. Take 2 is, in my opinion, a beautiful piece of work. This feels like a manufactured part. I could see this coming straight out of a factory. That's very necessary given the hits that I'm expecting it to take. By God, it takes hits well. It rebounds incredibly little, spins incredibly long. It's boring! It's so boring! If I made a second one, they'd just stand there, not even touching, like lesbian sheep. It certainly wins battles, but at what cost? A shovel to lift up other Beyblades, some sort of protrusion to snap ratchets, training wheels, hands to slap other bays. A singular contact point like Drawn Buster or any of the one-sided ratchets, and a massive wall that sticks out and slaps other bays. Finally, some action! Slap hand! Back to PLA filament, easy design. I'm sure an anatomically correct human hand was exactly what the commenters had in mind. I got one good rip out of it before it, broke. It broke off camera, because I, sort of caught it on my thumb while I was launching it. This begins the part of the video that I like to call things breaking because I took the idea too literally. All it needs is a bit more strength, I thought. Take 2, ABS! This one lasted all the way into the arena. It spun on its own with a lot more oomph than you'd think, and I was starting to get kind of excited. My god, such an aggressive design feature might have no stamina, but perhaps all it takes is one good Alright, take 3, TPU! TPU slap hand, cause it can't break if it's flexible, right? Plus, people wanted me to continue the rubber Beyblade saga from last time, so here you go! Exactly what you had in mind. An anatomically correct rubber human hand to spank your opponents with. It never broke, which is nice, but I gotta go take a shower or something. While we're in the genre of just kinda sticking random objects onto a Beyblade. A gun, a gun, a gun. Or make it hold a gun. I hear those do well in blade-based scuffles. Some of you said this with a little bit of nuance, I think. You wanted a Beyblade that actually fires a projectile, regardless of what it looks like. Something that would interfere with the opponent's spin or hit really hard to cause a knockout from a distance. I didn't do that. I took an anatomically correct human hand, gave it a gun, and put that on a Beyblade. It's weirdly threatening. Like it's telling me to give it my wallet. You can imagine how it went in battle. I'm just a script right now, so I don't know what's gonna happen when I let it rip, but I'm gonna make a guess, and I'm not gonna change the script if I'm wrong. It's gonna break instantly. Like, cause it's a bad idea. Specifically, my bad idea. Oh well, the content is bad this time. But hey, if this video does really well, and all of you share it around, and I get a bunch of Patreon supporters from it, I'll make another video like this one. I'll certainly give it a proper try anyway. I like this idea so much, so thank you to Kimbo, my dear man. Take 1, again, was PLA, and mighty tricky to pull off. The first few attempts ended up as solid blocks of supports, with the filament between layers all just blended together because it was way too shallow. I made 4 or 5 attempts, eventually arriving at the Sloppy Slinky prototype, which didn't use supports at all and didn't have much integrity as a result. Way too many coils. I didn't like the idea of shooting Sloppy Slinky into the arena. It'd be like sending a genetically broken huffing pug to war. It's too cute! It's too funny! Hee hee! Hoo hoo! Watch the jester jingle his bells! Had to do it to him. I remembered I had bought a reel of support filament specifically for ABS plastic. Since the H2S can multicolor print, it can put a thin layer of support interface between the supports and the final print objects. That meant I could actually use supports and still peel them off without breaking anything. The final prototype is beautiful, shockingly robust, and it never broke in any test against any opponent. It even bounces a little bit. Then it just kind of squirms around for a little bit and flops and flails until it falls off balance. At one point, inexplicably, the bit came out of the ratchet and went flying across the room. Perplexing, Well, looking at the slow-mo, I saw that at full speed, the bottom part sometimes starts to flex outward from centrifugal force. In this instance, it flexed out so far that it flung the bit away like an Olympic hammer throw. It's pretty, but it's no sloppy slinky, I'll tell you that much. Okay, let's do 2 or 3 flails. I think I'm gonna go with 3. What a cool frickin' idea. I'm not sure any Beyblade in history has had a feature quite so visually spectacular. Did that statement just make you upset because you had a different Beyblade that came to mind? Ha! Nerd! This is a task in which precision printing becomes of utmost importance, and the H2S gave me a really solid prototype. I did print the flails separately and glue them on, just so the whole piece wouldn't be ruined if one chain happened to break. Amazingly, the result, I mean, it spins. It looks really cool. Toe to tip, that's a Beyblade. With the weight of the flails so far outside from the center of the bay, the velocity has to be like insanely high, right? That could mean longer spin times. That could mean high impact attacks. And since they're attached to chains, those hits won't recoil back to slow the bay's main body. So just the opposite of everything I said, huh? It seems that the chains being so flexible actually allows the enemy to break straight through the defensive line and hit it pretty much normal style. Meanwhile, the flails get all tangled up in themselves and the ground and the enemy and yank the main body to a halt faster than any other bay that I made. The spring one lasts longer in a battle than the flails. Good God! At the very least, it held together shockingly well. Maybe in the plastic gen, when Beyblades were slower, some of these gimmicks would have done something useful if executed very, very carefully. But when you're looking at the hyper-brutal speeds of Beyblade X, tops pushed to the extreme, the tiniest changes of shape have huge performance ramifications. Big, bold, visible features tend to self-sabotage. Thus, the best performing thing that I made today was the one explicitly suggested to be annoying and boring. That's been my biggest takeaway. Beyblades are really hard to design, and Takara has consistently prioritized making Beyblade X's battles more interesting than the tops themselves. What it proves is that Takara puts an insane amount of work into making tiny, subtle adjustments to each and every bay, every part of every bay, to make an ecosystem that we get to enjoy. I wouldn't be surprised if they use 3D printing themselves to prototype new parts and compare the tiniest of adjustments. The ecosystem they've made is narrowly balanced, and often what works best isn't something flashy like a flail or truck nuts. So let's do this. Post comments below with your own terrible, silly, or even cool ideas for assist blades. Be sure to put each idea in its own comment so I can screenshot them easier. And if this video does well, which you can help by liking it, sharing it, and watching other videos of mine, or even by directly supporting me on Patreon, that helps so much, I'll go ahead and make another video like this one that's a mini tournament done entirely with your suggested Beyblade assist blade ideas, and probably some of these ones as well. If you want to try designing your own Beyblade parts or printing out from the vast catalog of existing custom Beyblade parts, click below to see Bamboo's wide range of 3D printers. The H2S is perfect for high-level, high-speed, large-scale printing with advanced materials. Or the Bamboo A1 is a perfect beginner printer, which I have used to make custom bits and many other gadgets in the past. It's shockingly precise and reliable for the price. Thanks to Bamboo for sponsoring this video, and thank you for watching. This is Jett Kuso, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks so much to my Patreon supporters like Diamond patrons LUCID, LANA, CHOOKA, Bear, and RAZU Ryan, Titan patrons 0107, Gusano, Banana Jones, Chell, Douglas Fern, HeartlineDai, Hyper patrons Trouble, Mudorios, Orio, Forrest, TC, Kevin Haji, Hateincarnate, and new base patrons Vigo Berg, and sort of new base patron Madeline Baggins. Congratulations, and glad to have you back.